Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Mr. Model Railway YouTube channel. Now, this is a schools class kit, and currently putting it together, mostly because I realise there's a severe lack of anyone actually, doing Dapol or Airfix kits online. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see whether or not I can get my hands on some of these Dapol kits and put them together and show people how to essentially put them together. Now, thing is with kits, you want to make sure that you know the difference between plastic kits like these and the metal ones, because the metal ones are more than likely to have a motor. The plastic ones like this don't come with a motor. They are meant to be static or rolling, which essentially means is that you put it all together and then you roll the locomotive with a powered coach or wagon behind the engine. Thing is, with Dapol kits, they're a lot harder to get rolling because they have a tendency to not be very reliable. However, I have managed to get, I think, 2 or 3 of the Dapol/Airfix kits rolling. Now, the kit brand that I got from was this. I got it at one of my local hobby shops. They're called Osrail. They're out near Parafield, I think in Salisbury or out near Elizabeth Way, because I live in South Australia. It's out near Adelaide. And yeah, this is a very, very, very old kit. But yeah, C-35 B.R schools class. Mind you, I did some research on the Dapol brand. Apparently they did actually make motorized kits for their old engines, but they're incredibly hard to come by, and they're called Perfecta kits, and they had these motors, and they had gears and whatnot, and a spare set of couple wheels, and they made different versions of these Perfecta kits, as they were called. Perfecta, locomotive kit number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, and they were made during the 1950s, early 1950s, mid 1950s, and they stopped producing them, and then people essentially had to make their own essential parts for their own kits. Mostly because people bought the kits, learnt how to put them together, and then after a certain amount of time just stopped doing it. Now, currently what I'm doing is I'm putting the parts, because these are unwashed, these parts are washed and they're drying currently. Once that's done, then you paint them and then you glue them together, okay? But another thing I should mention is that you always want to make sure that the holes that you have in these like movable parts are pretty much through, so they're like clear. There's no play with them at all, or no, there is play with them. You just want to make sure that they're actually moving parts, unless of course you want to make it a stationary kit, because you've got to be incredibly careful if you want to get these things actually properly working. They're a pain in the absolute arse to try and actually get that, because you've got to be incredibly careful with what you're doing. So, I'll probably cut the recording here because I've got to make sure of what I'm doing. But one thing I wanted to show people before I log out and sign off. How do I get this phone? What I've been doing, because these kits, this is actually one half of the chassis here, and this is the other half here. You're supposed to put these two together. But the problem with the molding is that sometimes these can either bend, or they can either have molding inside of the actual bearing areas. So what you want to try and do is get like a screwdriver that's about the same size as the hole, poke it through, twist it around like a couple times, clockwise, anti-clockwise, doesn't matter. But you want to make sure that the screwdriver feels like it's actually moving on its own. And once that's done, you're pretty good. And then once you put these two halves together, then you want to make sure that once it goes through and then it turns nicely, goes back and forth on its own, then you've got yourself a perfect bearing that you can put the two halves of the wheels through, and then you've got to quarter the wheels, and then you've got to do the drive assembly first, which is as I would like to call it. You got the chassis, which is the first step after you paint it, because technically painting is the first step, and then you've got to put the chassis together, and then you've got to make sure that the wheels go in, and once that's done, it's a long process. Either way, I'll cut back to the video much later, and I'll get to the painting part soon. But it's a bit of an annoyance because I've only got 2 hands. Wish I had 3, because then I could actually pick these up and bloody show you what to do with the chassis. But I think you people might get the idea. What you're supposed to do, put that through there, twist it a couple times, make sure it's a bit of the way through, keep twisting it, and then once it's done on one side, then you flip it over and twist it on the other side. Oh, shit. Oh, dear. Oh, my. Yeah, that'll happen to you. See, that's not the sign of someone doing a terribly good job. But sorry if I'm moving the camera away from the actual focus of the video. But I'm trying to keep an eye on through the screen, which is showing me what's in front of me. It's very disorienting, I assure you. But I will get back to everyone else in a minute, and I'll probably show you what I mean with the chassis. If I remember it, because honestly, I haven't been active for a while on my channel, either both my first and second one. This one will be going up on my second one, because my first one is for videos that are for my, that are specifically just for model railroading purposes. Whereas my second is for videos that don't necessarily have anything in common with model railroading, but it's a bit of a hard decision now, isn't it? Mr. Model Railways 2, and that one has model railway videos on it, but then my first one only has like maybe 3. But, what I'm trying to say is that proper videos that are like, maybe really long and really in-depth and take me maybe several recordings to do, like it's like a multiple part series that's really long, that I'm just sitting there just putting something like this together and then shooting off. Unfortunately, I don't have the room to do proper recordings at the moment, so most of these videos are going to go on my second channel anyway. I'm just not really sure how to organize my videos and whatnot, but it's an annoyance. Either way, I'll cut back to when I can, and that'll probably be in the next video after this one, so stay tuned. I guess like and subscribe, I guess.